my God.
Where did you ever get such a crazy idea?
From being abused as a child to flashing the legendary Cary Grant at the beach, Mary Tyler Moore has had quite the roller coaster sex life. In this video, we reveal all the highs and lows of this late great beloved actress and how it all defined who she was as a person. Like some women around the world, Mary Tyler Moore's sexual history began with a tragedy. When she was only 6 years old, her mother had a friend called Mr. Archer who came over for a visit one day. The moment he was alone with Mary, he took complete advantage of her and violated her. Mary, horrified by what had happened, ran to tell her mother. Unfortunately for Mary, her mother was in complete denial. This further confused the little girl as she did not even have the vocabulary to correctly describe what had happened to her. While she desperately struggled to describe what had happened by uttering the word wee-wee again and again, her mother yelled out, "No, that's not true!" This further traumatized the young Mary. Mary, who was angry at everything that had happened, was looking for an outlet for her rage. The only target she could find was Mr. Archer's young son David, who was the exact same age as her. The day after the episode happened, Mary went to his house and told him exactly what his father had done to her. This left the young David Archer traumatized as well. Looking back on the episode, Mary has expressed pain about how her mother handled things, and has expressed regret about what she did to David Archer. She said that her mother, by her denial, abused her as well, that she abused her way worse than Mr. Archer did. She said that in attacking David Archer, she got the reaction she had wanted out of her mom. But then she also stated that she should not have been so harsh towards David Archer. As a matter of fact, she felt a little disgusted by what she did to him. Though Mary Tyler Moore should never have had to suffer such a traumatizing event, she learned her lessons from it. This made her way more prepared for the healthy sexual relationships that would come later in her life. Mary Tyler Moore's first marriage came early. She was only 18 years old when she got married to producer Richard Meeker. For a while, things were quite passionate and rosy between them. As a matter of fact, they welcomed a son, Richie, into the world just 1 year after their marriage. Though Richard Meeker was Mary's first great love, he would not be her last. A few years into the marriage, their relationship began to crack and fracture. What happened was that Mary was beginning to climb up the ranks of Hollywood, and this made Richard incredibly insecure. Eventually, things got to the point where they just couldn't be together anymore. As a result, in 1961, just 6 years after they tied the knot, Mary and Richard went their separate ways. It was not an amicable split at all. Unfortunately, they were forced to reconcile decades later by tragedy. When their son Richie was handling a small shotgun, it accidentally went off in his hands, blowing a hole through his head. The death of Richie made Richard and Mary reconcile. Mary also went on to play the role of a mother grieving the accidental death of her son in the movie Ordinary People. This role netted her an Oscar nomination. It also helped her process the tragic loss of Richie. While Ordinary People was a great outlet for Mary's grief, she was not always successful at processing her pain. Some personal problems she developed along the line completely ruined some of her relationships. After splitting up from Richard Meeker, Mary Tyler Moore went on to date television executive Grant Tinker. Creatively, they were on the same level, going so far as to start a production company together. They were together for 19 years, but most of those years were strained. Mary had developed a variety of problems that made it incredibly hard for Grant to deal with her. For one, she was a type 1 diabetic. Mary's battle with the disease was so tough that it left almost no space for Grant. As if that wasn't bad enough, she became a raging alcoholic. This made it virtually impossible for Grant to keep her as a wife. After trying and failing to make it work, they both went their separate ways. If you think this divorce served as a wake-up call for Mary, you'd be severely wrong. In the early 80s, Mary Tyler Moore had her fair share of flings. Though her personal life was a wreck, she was still an incredibly attractive woman. One of the movie stars who couldn't help but get caught in her web was Warren Beatty. Warren has a reputation as one of the most promiscuous stars of all time, and has been linked with over 100 female celebrities. Warren was not attracted to Mary because he saw a wife in her. As a matter of fact, he knew exactly what he wanted from the beautiful actress. His past lovers, such as Cher and Leslie Caron, have attested to his selfishness and promiscuity. Once he had satisfied himself with Mary, he did not stick around. Another celebrity who Mary had a relationship with is none other than Steve Martin. The two dated quite briefly in 1982 and were often photographed in public together. Like Warren Beatty, he didn't stick around Mary for long either. Almost as quickly as he came into her life, he was gone. Amidst all this, Mary had a very funny episode with one of the most legendary men in Hollywood history. While basking in a bikini at the beach, she heard the unmistakable voice of Cary Grant telling her he loved her work. Mary got so excited that in trying to get up to meet him, she forgot she had undone her bra strap. This led to her flopping in the sand of the beach to protect her dignity. Cary Grant was so embarrassed that he apologized for disturbing her and quickly disappeared from the scene. Mary tried to save face, but it was way too late. Though she was still a wreck, Mary met the man who was to become the last great love of her life. Interestingly, the meeting between them only happened because her mother's regular doctor was absent. Mary met Robert Levine while seeking treatment for her mother's acute bronchitis. When he showed up at her house to treat her bedridden mother, they were quite taken by one another. On what was to be the final meeting between the two, Robert said to Mary, "If there's any emergency, give me a call." To which Mary replied, "Does acute loneliness count?" Robert, who could not believe his luck, hastily said yes. The pair started dating not too long after that. Despite the 15-year age gap between them, they fell hard for each other. The passion between them was so strong that it burned away most of Mary's problems and gave her a grand rebirth. Though it was Mary's third wedding, she was way more excited than she had been as a first-time bride. Robert himself never married anyone else. Robert really helped Mary take care of her health. So much so that he convinced her to go to rehab. However, convincing her to stay there was a whole different struggle. That took the help of another special lady. In 1984, Mary Tyler Moore checked herself into rehab for alcohol dependence. However, she was so bored by the treatment that she packed up and left quite soon after she arrived. It took a call from Betty Ford, former First Lady, to get her to check back in. According to Mary, that call saved her life. After this, Robert Levine often traveled with Mary on her projects to see to her health. He also offered his professional opinion to the press, stating that she was not an alcoholic. He tried his best to save his wife's image, but her battle with alcoholism and type 1 diabetes took a toll on her that was difficult to hide from the public. Mary Tyler Moore and Robert Levine were together for 33 years until she died in 2017. Despite her poor health, his love and care for her kept alive way longer than most people expected. Throughout her long life, she performed numerous feats of philanthropy and political activism. Her death was not just a huge blow to Hollywood, but to the world at large. If you enjoyed this video, there's a good chance you'll also enjoy the one showing on your screen right now. Click, enjoy, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you on the next one.